What's going on, everyone? Hello, hello, hello. How are you all doing out there? Thank you so much for tuning in to another great epic episode of Just My Opinion Reviews. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, just like I did last year, we're doing the same thing this year in 2024. We are going over all of the Oscar nominated films for the 96 Academy Awards. This one right here is Anatomy of Fall, and I am so happy to talk about this film. As you can see, I am not by my lonesome. I have my homie, my home slice, my homegirl, Miss Kimberly Curran for Southern California. Ma'am, how are you doing today? How are you?
I am fantastic, Brandon, and thank you so much for having me back on the show. Every time I come here, I feel at home. I feel like these are my people, our love of film, and just the shared experience. And I think in the world right now, we all need our little pockets where we all feel like we're part of a tribe. And Just My Opinion has done that for me for God, I think almost 2 years now. So
That's
thank
what's up.
you for having me
Cool,
back.
cool.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, guys, just want to let you know though, if you didn't already, the way we do it over here is we're gonna spoil this film up, down, left, right, in, and out as if you've already seen it. That is your warning, but this is Oscar nominated. Actually, not just for Best Picture, this has 5 nominations. If you was not aware, it is Best Picture, also Best Directing, also Best Actress in a Leading Role, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Editing, Best Film Editing. And so, of course, when the Oscar ceremony takes place, when it goes down Sunday, March 10th of this year, 2024, we're going to see if it wins one, all of them, or just a couple. We're going to find out. Also, guys, if this is your first time here, please subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you as one of my subscribers. By the time I'm recording this, I'm at 49,000 subscribers. Maybe by the time you see this, I'll be at 50,000, but please help me reach that milestone. And also, shout out to Kimberly. Subscribe to her channel as well. By the end of this recording, I'll also share her Instagram where you can follow her and of course, myself. And of course, our handle is on the screen if you want to go ahead and pull out your cellular devices and do that right now. But Miss Kimberly, let's go ahead and get into this film right here. It is being directed. Hopefully, I can get the name right. Justine Triet. Did I
Justine
get it
Triet.
right? Hopefully, I
Yes, you
did.
did great.
Okay.
Yes,
I
very
was
close.
I was nervous. I was
I
gonna
don't. I
butcher
don't
it.
think we're all gonna get the huffs and the in the.
Right,
So that's
right,
fine.
right. We're gonna ride with it. We're gonna ride with it. But when I reached out to you and I wanted to go over these nominated films, I think you was one of the first people to respond, and you was really ecstatic. You was really excited and thrilled, like, "Oh, I want to do this one, Anatomy of a Fall." And I didn't. I just finished watching it this morning. I did that on purpose because I wanted the film to be fresh. I did not know what it was about. I did not see any trailers. I usually try to go into things fresh sometimes just so I
That's
can be
the best.
blindsided. But
That's
I
the best.
did look at the synopsis. But I can say within the first 30 to 60 seconds of this movie, I was really drawn in. I was really pulled in and really didn't know it was a French foreign film as well. This is both French and English. It does have a number of subtitles. And I may say it's split down the middle 50-50 as far as the languages going back and forth, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit leaning on the French, but that's not a problem. One of the things I really did like about this movie is I feel that drew me into the story and the characters more. Even though I was watching this at home, I was focused. I was dialed in. There was a number of points where I was leaning in at the edge of my seat on my couch. So it's like, man, what is going on with this murder mystery, this court procedural? And I really did enjoy it. I haven't seen at the point of this recording, I haven't seen every Oscar nominated film yet, but I plan on it. But I can say with confidence right now that this does deserve all of the attention, accolades that it's getting right now. Because I thought it was a great film, not the best in the world, but I thought it was a great film. I can definitely agree with all of the nominations that it got. Not only is it a great film, but it's a great performance, and there's a number of scenes that I can't wait to discuss with you. to shine light on that. But I really did enjoy it, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say as well. But what did you think about this film? What is your general take, and what also I guess made you excited that you wanted to talk about it amongst everything else?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this film, and this is an interesting year, with Barbie being nominated. I have so much to say about that. Anyway, but yeah, you came to me and were like, "What do you want to talk about?" And I had just like when I got your message, I had just seen American Fiction, and I was like, "Ooh, which one do I want to talk about? Shoot, this is tough." But I remember actually, first of all, I like to say I love it when people go into films not even seeing the trailer. I think it's the most delicious surprise when you can go into something completely fresh. I saw this trailer a long time ago, and I'm always looking up random trailers. So it might have been released in Europe before it was released in the U.S. For the trailer, because I didn't start seeing the trailers in the U.S. till long after I saw the trailer before, and so when I first saw the trailer, I was gripped, and just something about it, I was like, I gotta see that, I gotta see that. And so when it came out, I had surgery and all that fun stuff, so I wasn't able to see it right away. And so I was like, shoot, I hope this is still in the theaters. I hope it's still in the theaters. And so I had to catch it streaming, but I was so elated about this film, Brandon. And let me say first, it's a slow burn.
Hmm.
So if you're expecting it to be like Knives Out mystery, please don't. It's not. However, for me, it is a return to the heart of cinema because we've had a lot of flashy stuff. We're kind of getting through the superhero era, and to me, it's a return of just like reminds me of Cinema Paradiso, like just the art of being a person is what this film is about. It's the acting, the directing. It literally, for me, the core of it is the art of just being a person. Sandra Hüller does a phenomenal job of bringing us the truth of her character, who's also named Sandra. This film just speaks truth. It really speaks to me about several things that I'm sure we're going to get into it, but overall, she's not playing a character. She's being a complicated woman in a complicated situation that turns into a dire situation. And she just is this character. And the young man, Milo Machado Granier, I haven't seen excellent child acting like this since freaking I remember seeing I Am Sam years ago, God, 20 years ago with Dakota Fanning and thinking this kid is amazing. He
I like
is
that.
he is phenomenal as a child actor. The way he just taps into the reality of Daniel and what he's going through is amazing. The way he plays a visually impaired person, which I got to talk about. I didn't realize till further into the film that he was blind. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know he was
He's not
blind.
blind. He's not blind in real life, though, is he?
No, he's not.
Okay,
He had
okay,
on
right,
contacts, but his character is visually impaired, so he's not
right, right, of
100%
course,
blind.
right.
But man, this film speaks truth. And Justine Triet, she to me, she has to get best director. I honestly feel
Mm.
like this film should be a Swiffer film, as I like to call it, because it just needs to sweep. It just needs to sweep everything. I want them to sweep the Oscars. I think they deserve everything they're nominated for.
Ooh, that's a tall order right there. I'll say
All
right now, it does deserve the nominations. I can say that with confidence, like I said, but I can't come to any conclusions right now to say that it should sweep everything. And just to be fair, that's just because I haven't seen everything as of yet. I've seen about half of the films that was nominated. Now, by the time you guys see this, I will have seen everything. But me personally, I don't think it's fair to say this should win, this should not win until seen the
yeah,
bulk of
that's
everything.
fair. That's fair.
Uh, now, when it comes to, it was 3 points that you said about this Sandra Milo and the film itself. I want to talk
Sandra
about
Hüller.
Milo. I got you. I want to call him Milo so bad, but it's
I know.
Milo. He was my favorite in the whole film. I did not know that he was going to have such a significant role into the court proceedings, especially when the rift was going on between him and his mother. Sandra, because he didn't know if she was guilty or not of the murder. But however, I did feel for him instantly at the very beginning,
Mhm.
when the lawyer was coming over to the crib to, get his 2 cents on everything. Marge and just other of the some other
Oh,
other characters
yeah.
that were just trying to do the investigation. I just felt sorry for him because, for one, his father died. He has no idea how it happened, but it really didn't seem like his mother was being there for him emotionally, and that really bothered me. She didn't really show any emotion until like the third act of the movie, where she was in the car and she made the comment of, they say that money can't buy happiness, but it's better to cry in the car than the subway. She broke down crying, and then started kind of laughing as well. And that was really weird for me. Now, Sandra's role in this film was fantastic. It was great, especially when the scene where we heard the audio recording of the physical dispute between her and her husband. Another reason why
Such
that
a
stood
great
out to me
scene.
is that's the first time in the film that we heard some dialogue from him. Early on in the movie, we didn't get any dialogue. We just got a cones of silence with him talking, and I was like,
You just
okay,
got a
is
little
she imagining
PIMP,
this?
that's all you got is the
Yeah.
PIMP. I
And I wanna I
was
wanna
like, if I hear that
the
one more
nice
time.
little instrumental. But with Milo, I already did like him, because he
Mhm.
was at a crossroad. He did not know what to think. Man, I only have one parent left. I don't know if she's a victim, or I don't know if she's if she's the suspect. And that's very trying for a child. They made the comment as well that because of the motorcycle incident, he already was going through physical and emotional trauma. And then to deal with that too, it's just it sucks. And I didn't cry myself, but I wanted to give the little boy a hug. I mean, his performance was fantastic. Especially, another point I'm thinking of is the gap in time, from because this movie is divided into two part for me. The very beginning, where we're trying to figure out what was happening in their remote home, and then the court proceeding. And I
Mhm.
know I'm kind of rambling right now. I love the beginning because everything is so rural, and it's out in the Alps, it's out in the snow, and it's so quiet. We don't have any music except for the 50 Cent PIMP and the use of him playing the piano or whatever. And I thought that was very effective,
I love
just
that.
to make you feel so secluded and just like, okay, what is going on? Am I going to get murdered too out here in the snow, and nobody's going to be able to see this, and yada yada yada. So I really did like that. Milo, he was fantastic when they was doing the investigation at the beginning, and then they jumped forward a year. It was just something about his face, of him, looking out in the distance after a year had passed and the court proceedings, started. He wasn't saying anything. He was just kind of looking out somewhere with his red shirt on, lost, like, he didn't have a friend in the world. And that was just really effective, for me. So hell of a performance. I really did like him. You can comment if you want on that, but talking
Yeah.
about Sandra as well, gosh dang it, she was good. She was
God,
good.
she's
And
phenomenal.
for the longest, I did not know, is this woman guilty or is she not guilty? I could not tell. But I think it was at the 47-minute mark, where she was, I think, on the side of the road with her lawyer out there. And the lawyer just cussed her out like, I don't give a fuck how you feel. You have to put yourself in a position on how everybody else is going to perceive you. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I like this person or I don't, but right now I'm feeling that this woman is guilty, because she's not happy. She resented her husband because he didn't intervene as enough. But she blamed him for the accident. She felt like he was giving up on
Mhm.
his dreams. He was jealous playing the music in the first place. Um, Later on, it was revealed that she committed adultery, and she just wasn't that supportive. She was just kind of going down the hill for me, and I was just like, this isn't the best spouse in my opinion. And so I don't. It's just and it really came out in her performance, and just how insensitive she was. But the performance was still great, especially during that audio, like I said, of them arguing, and she's slapping him and throwing glass, and
I love that
that was very
scene.
difficult to listen to. How do you feel
Brilliant.
about all that? I know that was a lot. Do you agree,
No,
disagree?
that's fine. Yeah, no, starting with Milo, him playing Daniel, one thing I loved about him is the everything about this film was so real because not every woman that's a mother is an affectionate mother, but that doesn't mean you're a bad mother. It
That's
means you're
true.
mothering in your way. So this film has so many main themes. Like sometimes we go into, what the main theme of this, the main theme of that, but there's so many main themes here. One of them is perception. Sandra could have perceived herself as a caring mother because she
Mhm.
went in to check on him. Maybe her perception of mothering is not hugging, and especially in different cultures, it's not the Southern mom that's like, "Hey, baby, oh, you
Right.
sad? Let me make you some tea." In different countries, affection is communicated in different ways. So her perception of how much she was caring for, and oh, I might, because as a mother in that situation, you might think, okay, maybe my kid needs a few extra hugs. His dad died. For her, maybe that was her perception of giving extra affection, according to how she is. That's why I loved her performance because she played being a person so well. I had an acting teacher that one time said the hardest thing to get an actor to do is drink water.
Really?
And
Okay.
I was like, "What? Why?" And he's like, "Because it's so natural. The way you drink your drink is so natural. But when you say action, it's like."
That's amazing. I've never heard that,
Like
but you're
like
silly.
yeah, yeah, like, you think you need to do so like, well, my character would grab the cup this way. Grab the damn cup like you would grab a cup and drink water,
Mhm.
and it actually is true. Even in some wonderful performances, I was thinking back of courtroom procedurals, and I was thinking of A Few Good Men and how everyone loves that moment where Jack Nicholson says, "You can't handle the truth." And
Right.
it's like, I know that's iconic, but how real is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
would be more like, you can't handle the truth. Not you can't handle the truth. But I mean, it's Jack Nicholson. I'm not going to critique that. But I'm just saying the way she was so human. That's why between her and Daniel, it wasn't a kid saying, "Look, mom, I need a hug.
Right.
I need you to hold me." He never said that. But you know why? Because that's his mother and that's how she's always been since birth.
Yeah. She was
Maybe the most he would get was a pat on the shoulder or coming in. She was physically affectionate, but she wasn't a Southern mom like we thought. The kid's dad died, give him a hug. No, that was Sandra and Daniel, and that was their relationship. And that's what I like about the film is it explores how different we are as human beings and how she wasn't a bad mother. That's just the type of mother that she was.
well, yeah, in my opinion, she still could have I feel you and I respect that, but I still feel that she could have took some lessons or something like that. I'm just thinking
A
about at the
lesson
very
and a hug.
beginning when he was in bed crying and she was like, "Okay, get up. Okay, we got to go to school. You got to
You have
continue
to
our
live your
normal day." I'm
life.
like,
You can't.
"Damn, was this not 24 hours ago or within a week? What is going on?"
But you
And
know
the
what?
other lady
Yeah,
came and she's like, "Hey, I don't know, maybe
the
recommending
housekeeper.
a psychic is not the best recommendation, but she's like it helped, and she's throwing everything in the trash under the bed, like, no, he's a child, you can't manipulate him that way or something like that. But yeah, yeah, I feel what you're
That
saying.
that was very real to me because I've had friends, and I think we all have had friends or family members who are like, "Gosh, she's so cold," and it's like, well, depending on her upbringing, depending on where she grew up, the kind of affection she had, it's like um, it's just like being anxious about being a mother or not being anxious. It's like not everyone experiences anxiety the same way.
Yeah,
So her coldness to me was just how she was, which going into something you mentioned about her relationship with her husband. In the beginning, she's describing their relationship as just like any relationship would start. There was passion and he loved me and I loved him and it was just so raw and da da da. And then you're like, well, where did it go wrong? Because she even made the comment that in the courtroom where they were accusing her of having an affair, she was like, Well, I mean, I had an affair, but I didn't cheat because I told
Right.
him about it.
Yeah.
Because her perception of loyalty is honesty, not what she does necessarily. I didn't cheat because I told him about it.
Right.
So
She
don't call
admitted
me,
that.
don't stand here and call me a cheater. She
Right.
literally was defending herself of being like, I had affairs, but don't call me a cheater. I told
Right.
him
Right.
about it. That's a very interesting way for a woman to approach cheating.
Right.
Um, anyone, a woman, a man to approach cheating. And so what I love is that the film really gets into perception because something interesting about this film that none of us are ever going to know is one, did she do it? But two, her perception of if she did it or not.
Do you think she did it? To be
I
honest,
don't
I'm still on the
know.
fence. Me too.
I don't know. And this is one of those films that stays with you because after you leave the theater and when you're driving home or what have you, you're going through in your head of how to end the movie. It's like those few handfuls of movies, we all have them where the movie fades to black and there's no answer. And it
Mhm.
sticks with you for years because in your head you keep making up scenarios. So for me, I love that the film, and this is why Best Screenplay needs to be awarded the Oscar. Because as a writer, there's certain things you want to keep from your audience, and there's certain things you want to make clear. And then it gets really iffy because I think we've seen films where they want to leave it ambiguous, but you're like, I mean, but obviously he did it. If
Right.
that's your goal is to leave things ambiguous, nobody should leave the theater saying obviously this or obviously that. And this film is brilliant and deserves the Oscar for Best Screenplay because they so perfectly executed ambiguity. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask most of the people that saw the film, did you like her or did you not like her? Most people are going to say, I didn't like her. But that's where we get into the courtroom procedural part of the film and why Justine Triet deserves the Oscar for Best Directing. The way she guided her actors to the truth, the way she guided Daniel to go from this sucks, this is hard, but of course I love my mom. A really poignant place in the film was when the judge called him in and said, look, these next few days we're going to play a recording. Up until this point, I've let you be in the courtroom. I don't want to let you be in the courtroom because I think for a youth, this is going to be really hard for you. And he said
Right.
something so brilliant. He said, look, there's the internet.
Radio,
Whatever is said
television.
in the
Yeah.
courtroom, I will spend the rest of my life being obsessed
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yep.
because I will hear the transcripts, I will read it, I will hear jurors that talked or people that wrote a book, and I'll know the bits and pieces of what happened, but it will always haunt me exactly. If you don't want me to suffer, you will let me be there.
Right.
And
Right.
I love that they did, but he did a wonderful job of going from, well, of course I support my mom. Maybe my dad fell, maybe he tripped, maybe they argued and he got scared, is what to me went on in his head. But at some point when he asked his mother, I I kind of I don't want you to stay here tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. When my
That
mom
was
was
the
there.
turning point where he was like, "You're my mom," but honestly, after hearing everything in this courtroom that he didn't know about the affair, he didn't know about his dad's suicide attempt, he's saying, "Look, you're my mom, I can't escape that, but right now, I don't know if you're guilty,
Right.
and I thought I did, so I need you to leave the house." For
And
your teen to tell you that, that is a pivotal moment.
yeah. Yeah. It is. I didn't feel sorry for her either, because she was obviously hurt by that. You brought up
Yeah.
the suicide attempt. I want to put a pin in that and come back to it. But talking about the directing, something else that I like that Justine did is, first of all, I love the prosecutor. He was on it. He was very like
Oh,
very great, very
he
great
was just
job
yeah,
from
yeah.
that man that did that. But something that I like that Justine did, the director, was when Daniel was on the stand and the
Mhm,
camera was fixated on him, but you
mhm,
heard the dialogue, the voices from the prosecution and the defense. And every
mhm.
time that you would hear somebody, it would shift from their side, but the camera didn't show them. I don't know why, but I love that part of the movie. I was like, "Ooh, this is really good," and I'm just
The
like, I like how this is all playing
storytelling.
out visually. But also in the car, towards the end of the film, where I spoke about this earlier, but the shot was showing Sandra, but it was the showing the road, how dark it was, and the light and the car was going all around the curbs and things of that nature. I don't know. I really did like that scene too. That really
Yeah,
stood out to me. So just
yeah,
great directing all around
yeah,
from
yeah,
Justine.
yeah. That was
Something else
brilliant.
that I really did like is this seemed pretty cut and dry as far as them trying to figure out what happened, but all of the details, especially in all of the details of them trying to reenact exactly what happened in the
That's
murder
all.
or the suicide or the accident of them having a body fall from the balcony or out of the window
The angle,
or
the
getting
blood
hit over
spatter,
the head. Hmm?
how when they mentioned the blood spatter
Yes,
and
all
the
of that.
very few. That's the one thing that actually, I love that you brought that up. That's the one thing that actually shifted me in my opinion of did she do it or not, because from the trailer and the film, it seems like there was a window and there was an opening part because they were doing construction. So it was
Mhm.
very possible. It was that's another thing. They were doing construction. So it was very possible that he tripped. But when they talk about the windowsill and how it's structured and how this isn't just door man fall. This is like it's like a little cubby. Like you got to get up in there in order
Yeah,
to fall.
right.
When they talked about that, I was like, "Oh, that's not how I saw it. I saw it like a balcony with no bar, and I
Right.
thought it was easy." And so I love the way they described that because I was like, "Oh, it was actually really weird and difficult for him to be pushed out of that."
Right, right. On top
So
of that,
that detail was great.
all of the blood splatter on the side of the shed, the way
Mhm.
they did the reenactment of
Yeah.
because at the beginning of the movie, Daniel went for a walk and he was like, I
Mhm.
heard them. It wasn't an argument. Well, how did you hear him if the music was playing? So they replayed all the music. They're talking in different, levels of volume and like, how did you hear it? We couldn't like. I liked all of that.
I
I
love
did.
that.
Even the prosecutor bringing out all of her past writings in her book, and it
That was
really seemed
another
yeah,
thing.
it really
Girl, you
seemed like,
stole your
damn, she
man's
could be
book.
guilty because he was like, well, this book talked about this and this book talked about this. But then the defense came back and was like, well, is Stephen King a serial killer? So I was like, oh,
That was my
snap.
I love they came back and I love the female defender. I loved when she said that because this film was very quiet and I'm sitting back and I'm watching. And when she said that, I was like,
Yeah,
ah,
yeah, yeah,
like, oh, that was a
yeah,
really great point. Like,
yeah,
because
yeah. It was
that
nice
that
tennis
was
and ping pong going back and
because
forth.
that was where he was going as well. If he wrote about this, it has if you pull from life, then you killed him. And that was a great point. Well, if that's true, then the FBI better get on Stephen King because he's killed hundreds of people. And
Right, right.
that was like, honey, that was a great argument winning point. To me, that was like
Yeah.
it's over because she just totally screwed you. But you bring up a good point about the French court system. Can we just talk about how interesting it is that their system is so different than ours? Obviously, different
Yes.
countries, but I
Right.
love how the prosecution was like, well, she did this and she did that. And it wasn't like America where her lawyer has to speak and where if the defendant speaks out, it's like, sit down,
Right.
knock, knock, knock. She
Right.
like stood
Much of
up and was like, she literally stood up and interrupted the prosecutor and was like, wait, no, no.
right.
Can I say something? And the judge was
Right.
like,
It was respectful too.
it's
Yeah.
only fair. And I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
you're just gonna let her talk? And she's like,
That
first of
was
all, you don't
interesting.
even understand my relationship. And then the way she kind of read the therapist, she interrupted him and just
Yeah.
read him and was like,
Shut
you're
him down
his
too.
therapist. And if my therapist was here, I guess they would say he was a horrible person. But just the way the French court system works, letting defendants just get up and interrupt and be like, I have something to say about that. We don't do that here. You
Right.
hope your lawyer will represent you in that way. But I love how it was a court procedural, but it also, this is why I love foreign films, is we want to learn about other cultures. Let's branch out. Let's watch more foreign films. I don't care if it's subtitles. Let's get out of our comfort zone and let's learn about somebody else. Get all up in another culture's business, because I learn I now the way they run their court system, it changed my opinion, because at first I was like, oh, they're going to arrest her, they're going to indict her. I bet the lawyer's going to do this and this and this. But when I saw how the court operated in France, it shifted my perspective of, are they going to railroad her? Oh, people have just decided she's guilty. I mean, that's, if you think she's guilty in the film, a lot of the way their court system works is how she got off. Because after hearing that tape between her and her husband, which, by the way, Brandon, I have to say, and I think you would agree, I love the way they shot that, where at the beginning, you do see that one flashback where it's them talking in the kitchen and they're just talking and disagreeing. And then it turns into what a lot of husbands and wives experience, which is an argument. And you see it escalate. And the moment it escalates and once it gets to that explosive moment, they go away from showing husband and wife and go back to the courtroom, and it's only audio.
Yeah.
And all you hear is tussling and punching. And okay, that sounded like wood. That sounded like concrete. Oh my God, that sounded like a slap. But you don't know who's hitting who.
Right.
You don't know who. You're like, that sounded like a body getting thrown on the ground. Was that domestic violence from a man or from a woman?
I have no idea. That was that was
or,
the scene. Made me
like,
a little bit.
Yeah, but the huge thing that I think led to us, if you think she's innocent, is wondering if it was suicide, was because at one point you hear this knocking on a wall, and they're like, okay, well, tell us what the hell that was. And she goes, he was hitting his head against the wall, and it's not the first time he's done that. Right. And if you picture it and you think a grown man that is so stressed out that he's slapping himself, I love it in movies when people do that. It's so, I don't know, it's so visceral, but he's slapping himself and then he's hitting his own head into the wall. At that point, you have to think to yourself, well, damn, suicide is on the table, because that's a disturbed activity.
Thank you for circling back, because we put a pin in suicide. The thing, help me out. I did not understand the significance of Daniel giving the dog aspirin to try to reenact his father's suicide, and the story I wanted to rewind it, but I was like, I don't have time. I didn't really.
Oh no, I got you.
Yeah, that didn't really add up to me. If you could.
No, I got you. So what that was, and to be quick, is that Sandra was saying, look, my husband has tried suicide before. And I think the therapist was like, no, or I don't quote me on that. I can't remember if the therapist was disagreeing, but the court was trying to say he wasn't suicidal. And she was going, yes, he was. Look, we had this situation where he had taken a bunch of aspirin. And she told this story about a suicide attempt where her husband took a lot of aspirin and it didn't work because he started throwing up.
Right.
Well, Daniel was like, when he went back home with the court-appointed babysitter, if you will, he was doing his own investigation as a young man, from a young man's point of view, saying, the court's going to do their thing, but I was here. I don't remember my dad trying to kill himself, but I do remember my dog smelling like he ate vomit.
Yeah.
And the next day he was like, it looked like he was going to die. He was incoherent. He was just heaving. His eyes were rolling in the back of his head. So for Daniel, he didn't see his dad try to kill himself, but he experienced his dog maybe eating vomit and getting sick. So for him, he was like, wait a minute, I remember that. I remember something from that night. And my dad, I didn't hear an argument or nothing, but I remember what my dog did. And if my mom is telling the truth, and if my dad tried to kill himself, but it didn't work because he vomited all the pills up, then my dog did eat it. And if my dog did eat it, let me reenact that with an experiment to see if I'm correct, to see if my mom's telling the truth. So he thought, okay, if you try to kill yourself with aspirin, what do you take, 10 pills? So I don't know if he crushed it up, but he gave his dog 10 aspirin because he wanted to see if he's going to react the same way. And the dog did react the same way. And that's what made Daniel say, well, shoot, because there was that. I mean, I'm a dog lover, so that scene was just torture for me because I was like, baby dog, what's wrong? But he's freaking out, and you think the dog is just sick. I actually thought for a minute that Sandra poisoned the dog. For a minute, I thought that happened. But actually, and he says, no, look, what happened was I remember that night, my dog getting sick. And if my mom's telling the truth, let me give my dog 10 aspirin and let me see if he reacts the same way. And he did, because he snapped out of it. And the next day he was drinking water like a fiend. And he said, and that's why he said, that's exactly what my dog did the night my mom is saying my dad tried to kill himself.
I got you.
So he did his own little investigation.
Yeah,
so his dad did try to kill himself.
I was just thinking, like, you can't compare how a dog and a human will react.
No, that's not what he was doing. That's not what he was doing.
That's what I was thinking. So
No. He said his dog that night, his dog got sick because he ate Samuel's vomit.
Right.
So that did coincide, because it wasn't trying to see if my dog reacts the same way as my dad. It was saying, if that's true, then my dad vomited all this aspirin. And that night, he just reenacted the same thing. The night Samuel tried to kill himself, the dog did eat his vomit, and the dog did get sick. So Daniel was trying to recreate that to make sure that that was the truth, and it was.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay. Final thoughts.
God,
get off your chest that you get off your chest.
To wrap this up, I have to see what this film encompasses is, one, the art. In terms of acting, the reason why it's worthy of Best Actress is, and by the way, Milo should have been nominated. I love Ryan Gosling, love Barbie. It was fun. Can we get Ryan out of there and put Milo in there? Or whoever, I think he wasn't lead actor. Yeah, he was a supporting. Let's get Ryan out of there and put Milo in there, because Milo deserves a nomination. Let me make that very clear. But the acting was so good because they captured the art of simply being a person in that situation. I love that there was no scene where Daniel was he was crying, but he wasn't bawling. He wasn't throwing. I love that it wasn't over the top dramatic, because when you think of grief and people who have been through grief and been through something, who have always thought to themselves, oh my God, if my brother ever dies, I'm going to freak out. And someone's brother dies and they're like, it was so odd. I sat in my room for hours and I didn't say anything. When you actually experience grief, you may not react how you think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I liked about the subtlety of their reactions to this trauma. Two, the idea of truth. There's his truth, her truth, and the truth. And I love that they take the vehicle of perspective to explore that. Because at the end of the day, you can not like her all you want. You can say she cheated on her husband. You can say she's not a very understanding mother. But what if, let's say the film exposed that he fell? You cannot like someone all you want. It doesn't mean they're guilty.
Right.
They can be guilty of being a bad wife, a bad mother, a bad partner. It doesn't mean they push someone out of a window.
True.
So I like the idea of the ambiguous truth, and how the screenwriting did a brilliant job of truly leaving us hanging. I also lastly want to bring up the point of one of the best parts of the film was that recording. The idea that she lied about it because she had a bruise in her arm. The detective asked her what it was, and she's like, oh, I hit that table all the time. Well, no, it was that fight you lied and you didn't tell us about. The idea, I like exploring you lied. The idea of, do you lie because you're guilty, or do you lie because you're scared? They're not the same thing.
They're not.
Because again, if the film showed, oh my God, he did fall out of the window, you go back and go, why the hell did she lie? Well, you're thinking, look, I love my son. If I go to jail, he won't have a mother, and I can't have that. Because I didn't do it, but I can see that they are looking at me, so I'm not going to tell them about the fight. Just because you lied doesn't mean you're guilty of a specific thing other than lying. And then motive. Let's say she did do it. I love me some 50 Cent. if I hear PIMP 30 times in a row, somebody's going out of a window. Like, let's talk about, especially when I had somebody over my house to interview me and I have a meeting and all I hear is da, 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 da. For a minute, I might be like, hey, and then I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to throw you out a window. like that to annoy your wife.
Yeah.
He did it. Like, he really pissed her off. You knew she had a meeting, you knew she had someone coming over, and you're gonna blast that amazing instrumental like over and over and over. You're gonna blast it, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so there's some friction here. So in talking about motive, is she a woman that would normally kill someone? No. But in that moment where you're playing the song for the 30th time and I had to send this girl home, I'm doing an interview, we're in financial despair, I got to promote my book. What the hell? You might go up there and in the heat of a moment, when you're not a murderous person, you might tussle and be like, well, fuck it, and push someone out a window. Maybe she didn't mean to, but I love how they set up the moment, because it wasn't like she schemed and was like, let me put something in his wine. No. All this happened. I'm so freaking frustrated. Yeah, I might have pushed him out the window. Oops.
Kim,
like
I'm afraid of you.
So look, you guys, look, I'm a happy person.
In a row.
I'm a happy.
Don't blow a gasket. Ah!
Just don't play that song like 20 times in a row. Maybe switch it up. But like when you think about a frustration between a husband and wife, and those moments where you say, look, I didn't kill him on purpose. I don't know if this makes me a bad person. Look, I'm saved. I'm covered by the blood, so I'm okay. But but I'm just kidding. But I can see someone being pushed to the point of frustration where they accidentally, maybe it's manslaughter, maybe I just wanted to push him because he was driving me nuts. I didn't know the window was open. I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't know he fell out. And my closing thought is the last scene of the movie when she lays down in the bed and cuddles with the dog. That is so brilliantly directed and acted and written, because the ambiguousness, ambiguity. Thank you. I was like, the ambiguity of her guilt or her innocence stays till the very last second of the film, because I saw it both ways. If you skirted by the system and you did kill your husband, that is how you're going to lay in bed and just stare off into the distance and pet your dog. That is what that moment would look like. But if you're like, my marriage was hard, this happened, I didn't do it, that is also how you're going to just lay in the bed and be like,
yeah,
I loved it. I loved it. It was brilliant.
You know what have been pretty, I just thought about this now, is instead of the dog getting in bed with her, laying down on the couch, she laid down by herself, but then the dog walked up and didn't jump on the couch with her, just stared at the dog, just like stood there and stared at her and started growling, like, I know.
I didn't catch the growl.
No.
Are you serious?
It didn't happen. I'm saying, what if that did happen?
If.
Like you murder or something like that, and she's just staring at the dog. Then it cuts to black.
But that would have been. But you know what? I actually like I like that, Brandon. And I watched an interview with Sandra Julia, and she said there was a different ending to the film that they shot, where, because you know how she poached her husband's book. He had an idea for a book. He never finished the book. So she said, okay, well, can I take it from chapter 3 and just finish it? Thanks. Didn't really ask. There was a ending version of the movie where
15 seconds.
Okay, where she's with her son in the bed and putting him to bed. And he says, Mom, I don't want you to use me as a subject in your book. And she says, I can't promise that.
Okay.
That was an ending, so
interesting.
I'm just gonna leave that where it be.
I shout out to Milo. Shout out to the director. I thought this was overall a great film. If I had to rate it, I would give it a 9 out of 10. My only nitpick was it's 2 hours and 31 minutes. Yeah, I don't think it had to be that long. I enjoyed the court proceedings, but they may could have shaved off some time. But that's honestly my only complaint. And the last point I do want to bring up is when the husband and wife were arguing. I honestly thought that the husband was making excuses. I really did. I thought she was beating him over the head with points like, okay, I have bent over backwards for you. You know, you're the one, like you're saying that you need more time. She kept saying, okay, do what you got to do. You don't have to homeschool the child. You don't have to do
You
this. You
like
don't
it,
have to
I
do
love
that.
it, honey. You
If
do
you
you.
want more time to write, do it. And he was like, you're cruel. You're me. I was, even though I did not like her, I was with her doing that scene. Just like,
He was kind
bro,
of being a bitch, but yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
He was he was whining. I mean, you know, he was jealous of her. I think they said that in court, like, you know, he failed where she succeeded, and you know, he was butthurt. It just seemed like, you know, she could have been a better person. I'm not, and she was cheating and all that. You know, that's not gonna make anybody feel good. But I kind of felt like he was whining. I really did. So you know, I like that point too. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for our spoiler review recap for Anatomy of Fall. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself watching this. Hopefully you enjoyed the movie. Whether you did or you did not, please let us know in the comment section what you
I
thought
have one
about
last
the film,
thing.
what you thought about our commentary. What's up?
Brandon, you've done such a good job on this channel. You
Thank
work
you.
so hard. You've brought together such a great group of people. You guys, he's so close to 50,000 subscribers. Let's make this happen for him. Like his videos, share it to your friends and links, share him, give him a shout out on Instagram. Maybe you guys do a little video. Tell Brandon what the channel has meant to you. Shout him out on IG. Let's get this guy to 50,000 subscribers.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Kim. I do appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, guys, subscribe, like Kim said, and check out all of the other Oscar nominated films that I reviewed on my channel. Yeah, I'm at the very least we're doing all best picture, maybe all of the best animated too. But guys, again, we just want to thank you so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that I'm B. Avery. That's Kim, and that's just our opinion. Peace out, and we'll see you next time.